I'm not going to be as hard on Francois than as Balisa was, because I think he did pretty well. I mean, 5 out of 5. The last one was sort of like a spanner in the works, so it's okay. It's okay, Francois.
It's pretty good.
Well, then the bacteria in our gut has a significant impact on the immune system and our overall health. Eating fermented foods such as kimchi, yogurt and sauerkraut will significantly improve the health of your gut and overall functioning of your immune system. I have dietitian Kelly Scholz in the kitchen with me today, and she'll be talking to us about fermented foods and how exactly they improve our gut and the immune system. We also show you how to make a delicious homemade fermented kimchi. Now, Kelly, thank you so much for coming onto the show today, and you're going to be teaching us a little bit more about fermented foods and their benefits. Thank you so much. But I just need to ask, there has been a lot of talk about the benefits of fermented foods, and I mean, they're becoming such a hit. Why is that?
So the interest is developing now in foods that still contain the live bacteria even while they're fermenting it. So it's about eating the foods that still contain those live bacteria because they're probiotics for us. They can potentially colonize our digestive system, and there are health benefits linked to those probiotic bacteria.
Okay, that's perfect. So I guess that's why we're making kimchi, because kimchi is one of those foods, right?
It is, and also things like sauerkraut, which is fermented cabbage, and yogurt, and even kefir and mas, and they're beautiful foods.
And I guess I'm going to be showing you, South Africa, how to make this amazing recipe. To start it off, Kaylee, I'm going to ask you just to, in that pot, we've got some rice powder or rice flour that you've got there. You can just pop into the pot and then add some veg stock. All we're doing now is we basically just want to make that into a sauce, like a thickened, gloopy sauce. That is going to basically be added into the rest of our recipe here. For this recipe, I've got some shrimp paste. I've also got veg stock. I've got daikon. If you don't have daikon, you can use pears, any other ingredient of that type would also work. We've got ginger, sesame seeds, fish stock, gochujang. If you don't have gochujang, red chili flakes work just as well. We've also got garlic and some spring onion. Then over here, we've got some Korean cabbage. If you don't have Korean cabbage, any normal cabbage would work. I've also got a bit of salt there and a pear that I'm also going to add a little later. To start off this process, all I'm going to do is I'm going to start quartering. In fact, I'm just going to halve it for now, my Korean cabbage. The whole idea for that is to allow me to put the seasoning or the salt into the layers of this cabbage. So what happens is initially when you start the process, you put salt onto this cabbage to basically break it down. So we've already done the first part of it. We've put the salt onto the cabbage and allowed it to sit a bit, and then we're going to rinse it again. Now this is like the last part before we go into the rest of those steps. But I mean, right now what we're doing is we're creating a fermented ingredient or fermented recipe here, but there's something called gut microbiome. I mean, what exactly is that, and how does it play a role in the digestive system?
Yeah, the bacteria that live inside our guts, and also yeasts, there's some beneficial yeasts as well. So it's all the microorganisms that colonize our guts. They live in a really nice symbiotic relationship with us, where we provide food and protection, and they help us to digest our food. So they literally take our food and digest things that we would not be able to digest ourselves. What we're talking about here is using our food to provide things and potentially colonize with some of the beneficial strains of bacteria that we know exist, and where there is research evolving at the moment in terms of those particular strains being of benefit to not only our digestive processes, but also our immune systems and even our mental health. So our gut bacteria can contribute to alleviating depression and handling stress better.
It makes a whole lot of sense what you're saying. So just to give you guys a bit of a recap, into this little paste here, I've put my gochujang, I've put in the garlic, the ginger, all of those ingredients. I've also put in the fish paste. The only thing I'm not going to put in now is the sesame seeds and the rest of the fresh ingredients, because we're going to put those in last. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly just rinse our cabbage that I've put in the salt here. So this process would take much longer. If you're going to be doing this and have time on your hands, you would probably do this over a day, because you would start it in the morning, and then once you've done that, then start doing the rest of the processes, because it needs about, I would say, about 12 hours for it to break down the actual cabbage itself. But now that we've done that and I've cut up, I've put it in the salt and so forth, we're going to start putting that delicious mixture that I've made over here. But before I do that, I'm going to ask you just to pour this mixture that you've done into this little bowl for us. And while we do that, I want to continue this conversation that we're having about our gut health. You know, how can we start introducing these foods into our diet? I mean, how is the easiest way to do that?
These foods, particularly something like kimchi and also sauerkraut, they have a delicious, salty, pickled taste. So we can't eat them in huge quantities because we'd be taking in too much salt. So what you could do is use a tablespoon or two just as a topping for something like a stir fry, or even into a sandwich, or some cheese and some crackers and some sauerkraut. Just a little bit every day is probably enough to get enough of the benefit from the probiotics that are there. And also, you know, something in moderation is good, but even eating healthy things in excess is not necessarily that comfortable. So if you are not used to eating these foods, they can cause a little bit of digestive discomfort if you're eating them in huge amounts. So go in moderation, add a little bit every day, maybe every other day to start with, and see if you like them. You know, it's also a taste that people need to get used to.
True, very true. And I guess that's why it's important for people to also just do as much research as they can when it comes to foods like this. But basically, South Africa, I've put on all those flavorings in there. I've made this paste, and what's going to happen is this mixture over here in our cabbage is going to sit. It can sit for as long as a week, basically. And all you do is just put it into a tub for about 2 days. Take it after about 2 days at room temperature. Then you can put it into the fridge because the fermentation process would have already been started. So now I'm going to continue making this mixture on my side here, and then we're going to put our cabbage into a little bowl and put everything else at room temperature. And then I will also add our daikon and our pear. And that's basically that's the recipe done. Goes into the fridge after 2 days after it's been fermented enough, and that is it. You can enjoy it, like you said, as a side. You can enjoy it as a filling on a sandwich even. You could do that. I mean, it's important that we take the right steps to maintain a healthy and strong immune system. Immuenza helps support a healthy immune system, assisting in keeping you healthy and protected. Make sure to tune in on Monday when we announce the lucky winner of this week's Immuenza competition.
Help support your immune system for your next big adventure with Immuenza.